A'ja Wilson beat Josh Hart in a one-on-one game. A'ja Wilson is a very talented WNBA player. She's a 3-time MVP, a 2-time champion, and plenty other accolades. A clip from, I believe, the Roommates podcast, the Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson podcast, is starting to trend again. And that is a clip where Josh Hart and A'ja Wilson are discussing if A'ja Wilson could beat Josh Hart in a one-on-one game. To spare you the time of searching, A'ja Wilson says she would win 11-8, I believe, and Josh Hart says he would win 11-7. But then on Jeff Teague's podcast, they were talking about how they believe A'ja Wilson would not beat anybody in the NBA. So here's my opinion on that. I don't know if she could beat anybody in the NBA, but I don't think that's really the point. Maybe she could beat someone, maybe she can't. But I feel like comparing a woman in their sport compared to a man in their sport is not really a fair comparison. I don't think it really matters whether she can or can't. I think the question is, why do we keep comparing two different genders who have two different physical abilities? Let me just say that Josh Hart and A'ja Wilson conversation was lighthearted. Like, they were not, being super mad or anything like that. So the conversation themselves, was fine. It wasn't anything super serious, which is why nothing really came of it. But since it is trending, I figure I might as well talk about it. Think about it this way. When we talk about women's soccer and men's soccer, we don't compare the two. These players are from two different eras, and I'm not the biggest soccer fan, so don't, come at me, but we don't compare, for example, Messi and Mia Hamm. Why? Because there are different physical advantages and different styles of play and everything in women's versus men's sports. Instead, and again, I know different timelines. I know Mbappe is towards more the beginning of his career, and Messi is obviously at the end, but rather we would compare Messi to Kylian Mbappe or Cristiano Ronaldo. You compare their peers because it just makes sense. Let's go back to basketball for a second though. In the women's basketball, you know that they have a smaller basketball. Why? Because their hands are typically smaller. And there's no shame in that. That's just physically how women are typically built compared to men in the NBA. So let's say, for example, they were playing one-on-one and they were using the men's basketball. It's obviously going to be harder for A'ja Wilson to handle the ball and score. She could probably do it, but at the same time, it's tougher because she's not going to have as good of a grip on the ball because she's used to the smaller ball because it is more suited for her hands. And not that she is not strong in her own right, she is definitely super strong and again, super talented. But as a man, they typically have more strength, especially Josh Hart, who is in some of the best shape of his life. Now, does that mean that I think she wouldn't score a single point against him? Not necessarily. I can't say that she wouldn't because I don't think that would be fair of me to say either. I don't know what the result would be, but I don't think she would get a complete shutout. But again, that's not really the point. Whether or not she scores 0 points, she beats him, or, she ends up losing by 2. I think the point is here, going back to what I said earlier, is that we need to stop comparing two different genders in their sports, especially in basketball, because again, I don't see us doing this that often in other sports. You can be super talented, and I don't think it takes away from how great she is, comparing her to her peers in the WNBA and other women as opposed to men in the NBA. It shouldn't be frowned upon if she played Josh Hart and she couldn't beat him because they are two different genders. That's what I'm saying. We should compare her to her WNBA peers and see how, talented she is and how much she can beat them. And I feel like that's more of a fair comparison. Again, their conversation that they had was lighthearted, so it's not anything to be taken too seriously, but I think this, speaks to a broader point. At the end of the day, comparisons are all just opinions. Sure, you can have facts to back up, this player won championships and this player has the scoring title and those kind of things, but at the end of the day, they are all opinions. Let's take it to food, for example. Someone could say blueberries are the best fruit in the world, and then someone else could say strawberries are the best fruit in the world. Who's right? Neither of them. There's no wrong answer. That person likes blueberries the best and they think it's the best food in the world, and that's their opinion and that's how their taste buds like it. And the other person thinks strawberries are the best. But again, there's no wrong answer there.